Hello and welcome to World Talks. My name's Don Arleth, and today we are at PGE Narodowy Stadium here in the capital, Warsaw, where we have Defense 24 Days, a very large defense conference. And now I'm joined by Vice Minister of National Defense of Lithuania, Dr. Karolis Aleksa. Sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for inviting.
Conflict with Russia. Previously, you had advocated that it would probably happen by the end of the decade. Your current assessment, because there are voices out there that are saying it might just be around the corner. Your assessment?
I guess that we should be prepared every minute and right now. So this is, there are several factors, of course, that decides, and of course, one fundamental factor, so how Russian war against Ukraine further develops, ends or stops or pauses. That is a big factor for Russia to, if that stops, to redeploy forces, to take time to reconstitute, to bring more ammunition, more production. So that's the danger. But of course we understand that this is not the only one factor that we should think. We should also think about so-called hybrid activities, those actions below Article 5, which are almost daily activity. And this is dangerous, and of course we should be prepared for those scenarios that could turn into, even more dangerous scenario with some more hardcore elements of military force. So this is, I agree in a sense that yes, we have to have a timeline to press ourselves in order to be ready to prepare. But this is not any relaxation, because those drone incursions, they showed that this could go into some kind of even escalation, and then we have to be ready to respond and to have all options on our table.
With the current crisis in transatlantic relations, that also poses other problems. There's a thin line between European unity and maintaining this unity and, of course, bilateral ties with the United States. How difficult is it to walk that line, and are you able to appeal to the calmer voices, I guess, out there?
I think this is our common European and American interest to have all of us working together, because it is no other choice. We see those let's say bilateral relationship with Americans and our European ambitions and developing European pillar of the NATO as very much working together. And I would support the once thesis of Defense Commissioner Kubilius, who said, I think in our media, that we should separate rhetorics from actions. And we should concentrate on bad actions, and I mean very practical things. So how collective defense and deterrence works in practice? Are we really sending those messages? Because yes, in political fields, in political rhetorics, there could be and there are some different elements, opinions. But if we show on the ground that we are testing NATO plans, that we are testing our national plans, that we are ready for different scenarios, that we have different options to respond, that is the deterrence. And first of all, it is ourselves, that we should not put ourselves into corner, be brave, and respond when it is necessary.
Here in the media, we're often looking at the main politicians and what they're saying, and especially the U.S. president. On your level in the Ministry of Defense, have you noticed any noticeable change between cooperation with the United States and the Department of Defense under this new administration?
We have a very good relationship, a very good cooperation. I would say that we just have a very positive trend and not vice versa. And we are very happy. We are working on a daily basis, and this is, as we say, it is not any sign, not even, a whisper or, some smoke in the air somewhere that would force us to think that it is some kind of different. We have solid relationship. Americans are in. They have a deep interest, a core interest to be here, to develop, let's say, our interoperability, and that's great. And we are doing what concerns us into putting the best conditions for being, for host nation support, and also for training, because that's important. Because whenever allies, Americans, Germans, or other partners, other allies who send forces, they want that those forces would have a chance, to train every day, because they would not be just symbolics. And we provide that, and we not only provide, and we are playing the scenarios, testing the different scenarios to be ready. And I think that sends a clear deterrence signal.
I would like to ask you about the Germans. Of course, you've staked a lot of political capital on the German brigade as a cornerstone of Lithuania's defense. When will it become operational for real, and how do you fill the gap in case something happens before that German brigade becomes operational?
So we are on a very good track together with Germans regarding the deployment of German brigade, and by the end of the next year we will have it, and that's great news, because we are pushing our efforts to make everything ready from infrastructure point of view, and of course we should be ready, any time, as I have mentioned, to be ready if anything happens, to have in place much more forces and on time, and even before the, so to say, active, if happens, active conflict. So we have, I think, the plans, we have understanding, and we are testing that. And of course, we have to follow up and to push on the projects that are important, like military mobility, because that shows that we are ready to have quick movement, rapid reinforcement of forces from whatever European country, NATO ally, come here, and specifically also German forces who had made a big commitment for eastern flank and Lithuania in particular. So we are working on it. And we are moving, on the national basis, on our national capabilities, but also on the allied capabilities as well.
Certainly, and I also wanted to ask you about mobility. 4 billion you mentioned for mobility, and that's 1 billion of that is for the Suwałki Gap. Now, what happens if there's no consensus from the EU or NATO for those funds? Where does that leave the security in the Suwałki Gap?
I believe that surely there will be a consensus regarding much more bigger spending numbers than we have in this multi-annual financial framework, which is almost 2 billions, but actually we are spent already. So the projection is 17-18 billions. Let's see how the budget will hold, how the negotiations will end. But it is also that we ourselves are investing as well. It is not only European Union, so and from our part, we are also ready to invest at least €500 million till the 2030 to make ready all those critical gaps for rapid reinforcement and Suwałki Gap, Suwałki corridor, as you have mentioned. But I am totally sure that we will have a much more bigger spending and consensus, because everybody understands. So just, I think, the proportions could be, a discussion about it, if it is what specific number, but
so
we're not doubting.
But consensus of vulnerability and the need to.
It is, it is a bigger discussion in a sense that it is now foreseen a projection of 130 billion euros for next multi-annual financial framework. If it would be a push and negotiations that we will have to reduce overall budget. Of course, there will be a discussion so how that would reflect to the defense spending. But I think everybody understands, specifically also at the European Union, that if we will not have a proper funding for military mobility, then it would be really difficult, and it will be additional challenge to have those NATO defense plans, a good credit sign. So this is really important for all of us. and we really believe that it will happen.
And finally, very briefly, I just want to ask you about the upcoming NATO summit. Lithuania is going to hit about 5.4%, I believe, in defense spending this year, the most in NATO, even more than Poland. What is Lithuania looking to hear at the NATO summit coming up in Ankara?
First of all, that we are united. Collective defense principle is enshrined in stone. Nobody doubts, and we send that message out loud. This is very important. Second thing, that we are on a track of spending properly on defense. It is not only Lithuania, not other members who have reached 5% or nearly reached 5%, but also others, because we need those absolute numbers in a much more bigger amount. Then third point, air defense, because we have to be ready not only for peacetime but for crisis modes to be active. And of course, defense industry overall, that here we come, that this is the spending connects to the defense industry, and defense industry, it's waiting a long time that money is coming up. So, this is the credibility of alliance, and we absolutely believe that we should achieve that.
It is. Unfortunately, you have to live close to Russia to spend so much on defense. Vice Minister of National Defense of Lithuania, Dr. Karolis Aleksa, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that concludes this discussion here at Defense 24 Days in Warsaw. My name's Don Arlett, and thanks for joining us.